Hey friends, this is Dolynny TV. Obviously, as we continue along this season, not where we want to be, not where we want to be, and the topics, they just keep getting more uncomfortable. Something I've seen pop up on my side of YouTube, right behind the scenes, is that old video I did back 15 days ago about potentially firing Jay Woodcraft. You know, I stood behind him and I sat there and I said, no way, Jose, that's not happening. This is on the players. We're 2 weeks removed from that, plus we're into week number 3, and that video by chance just had its best viewed day and is on track to have its best viewed day since 3 days after upload, which obviously it was a big topic. It did very well for a couple of days and then lulled out, and then yesterday happened and we are in all kinds of sorts of trouble now, because at what point is there nothing left to do but fire somebody? And I've had a very good chat with Patrick a couple times this weekend from the Oilers Fanatic. And it's simply, I think him and I stand united on firing Ken Holland does nothing. He's likely to retire at the end of the year. He's pretty much living it out anyway. And I'm sure whoever's going to replace him, if it's internal, is already doing all the managing anyway. And Ken Holland is more or less just a figurehead operating as the general manager. That is kind of the sense I get, because there's no other reason to really explain the lack of big moves right now. Yes, as Patrick's point might have said, it's harder to do the moves now as if it was in the summer. So yes, that's fully on Ken Holland. But heed this as you may, no matter what comes next for the Oilers is a firing. And it's very simple. Patrick's got his whole video. I did not watch it before recording this. So if anything sounds familiar, it's because we've kind of discussed the topics for the past 5 days. However, at the end of the day here is you've got Ryan Rishaug talking about, well, Jay Woodcroft's on it now, right? This road trip down the West Coast goes awry. Goodbye, Jay Woodcroft. That seems to be the sense Ryan Rishaug is giving off. Well, that's reminiscent of kind of what was happening with Dave Tippett in his final year as Edmonton Oilers head coach. Oh, yeah, you know, if we don't win these next 2, he might be done. And then, okay, no, we won these next 2. Okay, all of a sudden we lose 2 in a row 3 days later. Well, okay, he might be done after this one if we lose again. And let me tell you, when a coach gets to that point, when it is discussing, well, he's got 2 games to prove that he deserves not to be fired, guess what? He's proven he needs to be fired. That's my general sense. We had that with Todd McLellan a couple of years back as well. So at the end of the day, is no matter what happens next for the Oilers, even some winning, there is going to be a firing in the future this season. And whether it be Ken Holland, whether it be Jay Woodcroft, whether it be anybody on the bench outside of Woodcroft, I know a lot of people would go out and defend Dustin Schwartz and say he doesn't deserve to be fired. But again, when you're the longest tenured coach on the bench, you know what? It's not even that Dustin Schwartz is doing a terrible job, as me and others have implied. It would be more or less just get a fresh voice in there. And that's the only reason you're firing Jay Woodcroft is, ladies and gentlemen, Jay Woodcroft, up until this 10-game stretch, has not done a terrible job, nor has he done anything to deserve firing. The end of the day is, if the results continue to kind of dictate that this is going nowhere, you need to get a different voice to steer it somewhere else. So for the Edmonton Oilers, right now currently, is whatever happens next, there is a firing coming down the pipeline this year, or else a massive trade. But more than likely, the first move here to correct anything going on with the Oilers, whether it be the players have tuned out the coach, the players aren't playing because the GM didn't get them enough resources, the players hate each other and want out. I don't care what the story is. The players just won't want to show up because they all cash paychecks. Again, don't care what the story is behind the scenes as to why the Oilers are 2-7-1 on the year. At the end of the day, a new voice somewhere in that mix needs to come in, and likely it is from a managerial or coaching staff perspective to change the perspective of this team. Sorry, did not realize that I left the TV on upstairs. I just heard screaming and yelling, and that threw me for a loop. But friends, that's where we're at right now, is no matter what happens next, this team will be firing somebody this season. And that is, you can mark it down as a guarantee, because we've got Jay Woodcroft on a leash already. And, well, that hasn't turned out too well for Todd McClellan and Dave Tippett when that has happened to them. So it won't be tomorrow. Might not be the next day. Give me by Friday afternoon, about 2 o'clock, when I'm sitting at work thinking, I'm going to have a good weekend this weekend. They'll be firing Jay Woodcraft if things don't turn around. But again, if things don't turn around, 2 weeks from now, we'll be having the same conversation. And I just want to get out in front of it saying, if we're at this point, it's going to happen. Whether it be Jay, whether it be Ken, whether it be Dustin Schwartz, whether it be the whole, I don't care, the strength and conditioning coach, somebody is getting fired for what has already transpired this season in hopes of transpiring much better results the rest of the way home. Friends, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. Again, out of answers, but there's some stuff I can pass along just on clear as day perspective as an Edmonton Oilers fan, having done this for almost 6 years. That said, go Oilers go, right?